Did you know that over 70% of engine failures are caused by improper oil changes? Most people think draining oil is a simple task, but doing it at the wrong temperature can create a sludge monster that slowly eats your engine from the inside. I will reveal the perfect temperature window and the filter mistake that starves your engine of oil on startup. Mistake 1. The dreaded double gasket. This one is a classic notorious engine wrecker, a surprisingly common blunder that can turn a routine maintenance job into a catastrophic failure in mere seconds. The dreaded double gasket scenario unfolds when the old rubber O-ring from the previous oil filter stubbornly adheres to the engine block's filter housing. This happens more often than you might think, as heat and pressure can cause the old gasket to bond tightly to the metal surface. If you fail to spot this lurking remnant and proceed to screw the new filter right on top of it, you have just created a fundamentally flawed seal. You now have two flexible gaskets trying to occupy the same space and create a single, high-pressure seal, which is a physical impossibility. The new gasket cannot seat properly against the engine block, leaving a significant gap. The moment you start the engine, the oil pump will pressurize the system to anywhere from 40 to 60 psi, pounds per square inch, and this pressure will find the path of least resistance right through the compromised double gasket. This results in a massive, instantaneous oil leak, dumping your entire supply of fresh oil onto the ground in a matter of minutes, causing severe engine damage. Always, without fail, double-check the filter housing visually and by feel to ensure the old O-ring is completely gone. Mistake 2. Forgetting to remove the oil filler cap. Before you loosen the drain plug, you must first pop the hood and remove the oil filler cap. This is the cap, usually marked with an oil can symbol, where you pour new oil into the engine. Leaving this cap on while draining the oil is a fundamental mistake rooted in basic physics. An engine is a relatively sealed system. As oil drains from the bottom, a negative pressure or vacuum forms in the crankcase above. This suction actively works against gravity, holding back the oil and dramatically slowing its draining speed. As a result, a significant amount of the old, dirty, and contaminated oil gets left behind, clinging to internal surfaces and pooling in crevices. This leftover gunk, rich with abrasive particles and sludge, immediately contaminates the fresh oil you add, negating much of the benefit. A 2018 study by a leading lubricant manufacturer showed that leaving as little as 10% of the old oil behind can reduce the effective lifespan of the new oil by up to 30%. The fix is almost laughably simple. Always remove the oil filler cap first. This allows air to enter the engine, breaking the vacuum and letting the oil flow out fast and free. If you're learning something new here, consider subscribing now. Now that you have the oil flowing out, the temperature of that oil can make a huge difference between a clean drain and leaving gunk behind. Mistake 3. Draining the oil. When the engine is cold. Draining oil from a cold engine is one of the most pervasive and damaging mistakes in DIY auto maintenance. Here is the scientific deal. Engine oil is a viscoelastic fluid, meaning its thickness, or viscosity, is highly dependent on its temperature. When the engine is cold, the oil is thick, dense, and flows with the consistency of molasses. In this state, it does not drain completely or efficiently. A substantial amount clings to the internal surfaces of the engine. More importantly, harmful contaminants that your oil is designed to hold in suspension, like microscopic metal shavings and soot, will have settled out of the cold, thick oil, forming a layer of sludge at the bottom of the oil pan. When you drain the cold oil, the liquid flows out, but this concentrated layer of abrasive sludge remains behind. The simple, professionally endorsed fix is to warm up your engine for just 3 to 5 minutes. The ideal temperature is typically between 100 degrees and 140 degrees, 38 degrees to 60 degrees. This brings the viscosity down so it flows easily and, crucially, churns up contaminants, ensuring they remain suspended in the oil and are carried out with it, giving you a much cleaner oil change. Mistake 4. Overfilling the oil. Believe it or not, when it comes to engine oil, having too much can be just as destructive as having too little. Putting an excessive amount of oil in your engine can cause a cascade of serious problems. The crankshaft, which rotates at thousands of revolutions per minute, sits just above the oil level in the pan. When the oil level is too high, the spinning crankshaft and connecting rod counterweights will violently whip the oil into a bubbly, airy foam. This process is known as aeration. This foamy, aerated oil is a catastrophic lubricant. The air bubbles dramatically reduce the oil's hydraulic properties and its ability to form a protective film between moving metal parts. This can lead to a sudden drop in oil pressure and cause rapid, severe wear on bearings and camshafts. Furthermore, this frothy oil gets circulated throughout the engine, potentially leading to overheated hydraulic lifters. The excess oil can also increase crankcase pressure, forcing oil past seals and gaskets and causing significant leaks. To avoid this costly error, always check your dipstick meticulously after adding new oil. Add it slowly, about half a quart at a time, until you are safely within the full and add marks. Mistake 5. Skipping the final oil check. The oil change isn't finished when you've tightened the drain plug and poured in the specified amount of new oil. Forgetting the final post-fill check is a critical oversight. After you have filled the engine with the manufacturer recommended quantity of new oil, you need to start the engine and let it run for just a minute. This crucial step allows the oil pump to circulate the fresh oil throughout the entire engine, pressurizing the system, and most importantly, filling the new, empty oil filter. A new oil filter can hold a surprising amount of oil, often between half a quart to a full quart, depending on its size. Once this oil is drawn from the pan to fill the filter, the level on your dipstick will drop noticeably. If you skip this step and drive away, you could be operating the engine with nearly a quart less oil than it requires, putting it under unnecessary stress. So after running the engine for a minute, shut it off, wait 5 minutes for the oil to settle back into the pan, and then perform your final, definitive oil level check on level ground. This is when you can accurately top it off to the full mark. Mistake 6. Ignoring your oil change interval. Adhering to a regular oil change schedule is arguably the single most important thing you can do to extend engine life. However, many people make the mistake of either blindly following the old 3,000-mile rule or simply glancing at the mileage sticker without considering their actual driving conditions. Vehicle manufacturers provide service intervals for both normal and severe driving, and the reality is that most drivers fall into the severe category. For example, if you take a lot of short trips under 5 miles, your engine oil never reaches its optimal operating temperature. This prevents it from burning off condensed moisture and fuel contaminants, which leads to accelerated acid formation and sludge buildup. Similarly, constant stop-and-go city traffic, towing, driving in dusty environments, or living in extreme climates all place extra stress on your engine's oil, causing its vital additives, like detergents and anti-wear agents, to break down much faster. You must honestly assess your driving habits and adjust your oil change schedule accordingly, referencing the severe service interval in your owner's manual. A sticker on the windshield doesn't know how you drive, but your engine does, and neglecting its needs leads to premature wear. Mistake 7. Not pre-filling the new oil filter. Most DIY mechanics skip this crucial step. But installing a new oil filter dry is setting your engine up for a moment of significant damage. A new oil filter can hold a substantial amount of oil, sometimes nearly a whole quart. If you install this filter completely empty, you are guaranteeing a dry start. When you turn the key, the oil pump has to first fill this empty filter canister before it can build enough pressure to send oil to the rest of the engine. This can take several critical seconds, a period during which your engine's most sensitive components, like crankshaft bearings and camshafts, are spinning without any protective lubrication. Industry studies on engine wear have shown that a significant percentage of an engine's total lifetime wear can occur during these first few seconds of startup. That momentary metal-on-metal contact can increase engine wear by a shocking amount over time. The fix is incredibly easy. Simply pour a little new, clean oil directly into the center hole of the new filter before you screw it on. Let the filter media absorb it, then add a little more until it's about 2/3 full. This ensures the system pressurizes almost instantly. Mistake 8. Forgetting to lube the oil filter O-ring. That simple rubber O-ring on your new oil filter plays a critical role. It's the primary seal that contains dozens of psi of hot oil pressure. To create a perfect, leak-free seal, it needs a little bit of help. When the O-ring is installed dry, the friction between the rubber and the metal engine block can cause it to bunch up, pinch, or even tear as you tighten the filter. A damaged gasket will inevitably lead to leaks, which can range from a slow, annoying drip to a more significant leak that could compromise your engine's oil level. Those leaks mean you are losing the fresh, expensive oil you just put in, and potentially creating a hazardous situation if the oil drips onto a hot exhaust component. The solution is one of the simplest and quickest steps in the entire process. All you have to do is dip a clean finger into some of your new, clean engine oil and rub a thin, even coat onto the entire surface of the O-ring before you install the filter. This lubrication allows the gasket to glide smoothly against the engine housing as you tighten it, ensuring it seats perfectly and creates a durable seal. Mistake 9. Over-tightening the drain pan bolt. There's a pervasive and incorrect mindset among many amateur mechanics that tighter is always better. When it comes to the oil drain plug, that philosophy is completely wrong and can be incredibly costly. Over-tightening the drain bolt is a recipe for disaster. Most modern oil pans are made of stamped steel or, increasingly, cast aluminum. Applying excessive force to the steel drain plug can easily strip the threads in the softer metal of the oil pan. Even worse, it can put stress on the pan itself, leading to a hairline crack that might not be immediately obvious. A stripped oil pan requires an expensive repair, often involving a thread insert like a helicoil. A cracked oil pan almost always requires complete replacement, a job that could cost you over $1,000. The right way is to tighten it until it is snug. If you have a torque wrench, that is the professional's choice. Simply look up the car maker's torque specification, typically between 20-25 feet lbs or 27-34 Nm, and tighten it precisely. This ensures a perfect seal without risking catastrophic damage to your oil pan threads. Mistake 10. Over-tightening the oil filter. Just like the drain bolt, you can cause significant problems by over-tightening the oil filter. The temptation to grab a filter wrench and crank it on with all your strength is a mistake that can lead to immediate and future headaches. When you over-tighten an oil filter, you put excessive compressive force on the rubber O-ring. This can crush the gasket's internal structure, damaging it and leading to a poor seal and potential leaks. Furthermore, a filter that has been excessively tightened can be incredibly, sometimes seemingly impossibly, difficult to remove during the next oil change. It's not uncommon for people to resort to extreme measures like hammering a screwdriver through the filter canister to get enough leverage to remove it, a messy and risky procedure. The proper technique requires no tools for installation. The trick is to hand tighten the filter until the lubricated gasket just makes contact with the engine's mounting surface. Then, using only your hand, give it an additional 3/4 of a full turn. That's it. This provides the perfect amount of compression on the gasket to create a secure seal that will not leak and will still be removable next time. Mistake 11. Not changing the oil filter every time. In an attempt to save a few dollars, some people are tempted to skip changing the oil filter with every oil change, perhaps changing it every other time instead. This is a terrible and fundamentally flawed idea. Your oil filter acts as your engine's kidney, a vital organ responsible for filtration. It is meticulously engineered to remove all the nasty and abrasive contaminants that would otherwise cause serious internal damage. Dirt ingested through the air intake, tiny metal shavings from normal wear and tear, and sludge created by oil breakdown. If you drain the old, dirty oil, but leave the old, dirty filter in place, you are creating a major problem. That old filter is already saturated with trapped gunk. The moment you start the engine, the fresh, clean oil you just added begins circulating, and its first stop is through that contaminated filter. A significant portion of the harmful particles trapped in the old filter can be dislodged and released directly into your brand new oil. Moreover, a clogged filter may force its internal bypass valve to open, allowing completely unfiltered oil to circulate through the engine. Oil filters are inexpensive. A new engine is not. Always replace the filter with every single oil change. Mistake 12. Checking the oil level on uneven ground. Have you ever checked your oil while parked on a slight hill or a slanted driveway? This seemingly harmless action can lead you to make critical errors in judgment about your engine's oil level. It's a mistake rooted in the simple physics of gravity and fluid levels. Engine oil pans are designed to be wide and relatively shallow. The dipstick is calibrated to give an accurate reading only when the oil inside that pan is perfectly level. Checking your oil level on any kind of incline will cause the oil to pool on one side of the pan, giving you a completely false reading. If the front of the car is pointing downhill, the dipstick, usually located toward the front, will show an artificially high reading, making you think the oil is overfilled. If the car is pointing uphill, it will show an artificially low reading, tricking you into adding more oil and overfilling the engine. An error of just a few degrees of incline can alter the reading by as much as a full quart. Both overfilling and underfilling are bad for your engine. Make it an unbreakable habit to only check your oil on a flat, level surface to get an accurate measurement. Mistake 13. Using low quality or wrong filters. In the world of auto parts, you often get what you pay for, and this is especially true for oil filters. Those super cheap, no-name oil filters might seem like a great deal, but they can be a ticking time bomb for your engine. The cost savings are achieved by cutting corners on essential components. They use thinner metal for the canister, fewer pleats of lower quality filter media, and poorly constructed anti-drain back and bypass valves. A low quality filter can break down quickly under the high pressure and temperature of a running engine. The filter media can tear or collapse, allowing harmful unfiltered contaminants to slip right past and circulate through your engine's most sensitive and expensive parts, like bearings and variable valve timing solenoids. To be safe, you should always use filters that meet or exceed your car manufacturer's OEM, original equipment manufacturer standards. Well-known, reputable brands are usually a great option since their business depends on quality and reliability. Spending a few extra dollars on a quality filter is one of the cheapest and most effective forms of insurance you can buy for your engine's long-term health and protection. It's a small price for significant peace of mind. Mistake 14. Using the wrong type of oil. Using the wrong type of engine oil is one of the most damaging and surprisingly common mistakes you can possibly make. This isn't just a matter of hurting your car's performance or fuel economy. It can lead to accelerated wear and complete engine failure. Every engine is designed by its engineers to work with a very specific type and viscosity of oil. This information is always found in your owner's manual. For example, an oil labeled 5W30 has a specific viscosity, flow rate at cold temperatures, the 5W part for winter, and at operating temperatures, the 30 part. Modern engines, with their tight tolerances, turbochargers, and complex systems like variable valve timing, VVT, are extremely sensitive to oil viscosity. Using an oil that is too thick can strain the oil pump and prevent the oil from reaching critical parts quickly on startup. Using an oil that is too thin may not provide an adequate protective film at high temperatures, leading to metal-on-metal contact. The wrong oil puts a massive strain on your engine, lowering its power, decreasing fuel efficiency, and causing parts to wear out prematurely. Always double-check your owner's manual. Mistake 15. Forgetting the drain plug gasket. That little drain plug that you remove to let the oil out has a small companion, a washer or gasket that is absolutely critical for a proper seal. In most cases, this is a single-use crush washer, typically made of soft metal like copper or aluminum. It is specifically designed to be replaced every single time you change your oil. As you tighten the drain plug, this soft washer deforms and flattens, perfectly filling any microscopic imperfections between the plug and the oil pan to create a flawless, leak-proof seal. If you reuse the old one, it has already been crushed and work-hardened. It will not be able to deform and seal properly a second time, which can cause a slow but persistent oil drip. You might not even notice this small leak until your oil level becomes dangerously low, triggering an oil pressure warning light. By which point some damage may have already occurred. These washers cost next to nothing, often less than $1, and are sometimes included with a new oil filter. There is absolutely no reason to reuse the old one. Always put a new one on with every oil change. Mistake 16. Cross-threading the plug or filter. Cross-threading is a mechanical nightmare that happens when you start screwing in the drain plug or the oil filter at a slight angle instead of perfectly straight. It might feel like it is getting tight, but what is actually happening is that the hard steel threads of the plug or filter are forcibly cutting new, crooked threads into the softer metal of the engine block or oil pan. This completely ruins the original, precisely machined threads and will result in a connection that will never seal properly. A cross-threaded drain plug will almost certainly leak, and a cross-threaded filter can leak or, in a worst-case scenario, blow off under pressure. The repair for cross-threading is always expensive and invasive, often requiring specialized tools to install a thread insert, or, in severe cases, the complete replacement of the oil pan. The prevention is simple and requires patience. Always start threading the drain plug and the oil filter by hand. You should be able to turn them for several full rotations with just your fingertips. If you feel any resistance at all, stop immediately, back it out, and restart until it goes in smoothly and without force. Mistake 17. Using the wrong tools for the job. Attempting an oil change without the proper tools is asking for trouble. Grabbing the first tool that seems to fit, like a pair of adjustable pliers to wrestle off a stuck oil filter, or using the wrong size socket on the drain plug, can turn a simple job into a major repair. Pliers are notorious for crushing the thin metal canister of an oil filter, making it even harder to remove and potentially puncturing it, causing a huge mess. Using a 12-point socket or an ill-fitting wrench on the drain plug is a classic way to round off the corners of the bolt head. Once that happens, getting it off becomes a massive headache that might require specialized bolt extractor tools. To do the job right, you need the right equipment. Want to check out more car maintenance tips that mechanics do not want you to know? Click on the video on the left. And if you do not want to miss more car tricks, hit that subscribe button.